Hello, good evening. A warm welcome to everyone joining this Zoom meeting with Teleconference. Please note that this presentation will be translated into Romanian and also recorded. Before I start the presentation, I want also to have a warm welcome here to our management team. We are here with Marian, Technical Director, Bogdan, Agriculture Director, Adina, also zootechniek, and Mihaila, accountancy, and also Lacrima, investors, and Peter. I would like to share several important updates with you today. I will begin by informing you about recent changes in our management team. After this, Peter, together with Mihaila, will present the final results for the first quarter of 2025. And after this, he will outline our strategic vision for the period 2025-2030. First, about the management changes. I would like to announce you that Gabriel will leave the Teleconference company to pursue new opportunities. On behalf of the total organization, I would like to thank Gabriel for his remarkable contribution over the last 15 years. His dedication and efforts have played a significant role in shaping the company where we are today. As for myself, Jan de Boer, I have made the decision to take a step back from the day-to-day business. This decision coincides with a new chapter for Teleconference, as we embarked on an ambitious and nevertheless achievable 5-year strategic plan. I believe this is the right moment to bring new leadership to the management team to guide this next phase. I will be turning 65 at the end of this year, and I feel that this is a natural and timely transition. I will continue to serve as President of the Board, focusing on an advice role and overseeing the successful implementation of our new strategy 2025-2030. About the new leadership, Peter will assume the role of CEO. Many of you are already familiar with him. He's fully prepared to take on this responsibility and will address you further in this meeting. Adina will become our new Chief Operating Officer, COO, and will also serve as Deputy CEO. Adina has been with Teleconference since 2011 and brings extensive experience and deep organization knowledge to her new role. Mihaila has been appointed as our new Chief Financial Officer, CFO. She's also a long-standing team member and possesses a strong background within our company. I would like to take this opportunity to wish Peter, Adina, and Mihaila lots of success and also a lot of energy in their new role. I'm confident that this leadership transition positions Teleconference for continued growth and long-term success. Before I hand over to Peter, I want to take a moment to sincerely thank you, our investors, for your continued trust, confidence, and support. Your belief in our vision and your commitment to Teleconference have been important in driving our rapid growth. We deeply value the relationship we built with you, and we truly hope that you will continue to be part of the Teleconference family in the years to come. We are excited about the future, and we look forward to achieving our goals together. With this, I give now the floor to Peter, who will present the first quarter results and the strategy of 2030. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for all joining us today. As you probably can imagine, it is quite a tough day today. It's a bit, of course, emotional. One part exciting, but also, yeah, it is a change in our organizational structure in our company and how we are used to as a whole team of almost a family of almost 300 employees. Who were used to operate for many years in the past. So first of all, as many of you know, today marks a significant milestone in the history of our company. After more than of almost 20 years of visionary leadership, my father, Jan de Boer, is stepping down from his role as CEO. I want to begin by expressing my deepest gratitude to him. Not only as a son, but as a member of a company and a community that has been shaped by his passion, integrity, and unwavering commitment to excellence. His leadership built the foundation on which we continue to grow, and his legacy will remain a guiding force for all of us. It is both a great honor and a profound responsibility for me to step into the role of CEO. I have had the privilege of learning from my father and from so many of our talented team members over the years. I do not take this opportunity lightly. I'm committed to continuing our legacy of innovation, accountability, transparency, and long-term value creation for all of our shareholders, our employees, and our customers. As I take on this role for the first time, I'm especially proud of the team we have established to help lead the company into the future. Our new management team is gender balanced. We have exactly 3 men, 3 women. While this was not a target or a deliberate goal during the selection process, I believe it reflects the strength of our talent across the management team. It makes me proud that our leadership naturally reflects the diversity and merit defined of our company's culture. As we look ahead, we will remain true to our core values, which also embracing the future with fresh energy, a strong strategic vision, and a commitment to sustainable growth. I look forward to engaging with all of you as we begin this next chapter together. Now, our new COO, Adina Trouvas, will also make a short statement, as well as our new deputy CEO. So, Adina, the floor is yours.
Good day, everyone, and thank you for being here. My name is Adina Trouvas, and before of all, I'm a daughter of a farmer. I grew up in a household together with my parents where cows and sheep were part of our daily life. I attended the agriculture high school, then studied economics at ASE București, and then I complete with a master in accountancy to Vasile Goldiș in Arad. This combination of growing up around the animals and my study in economy give me a unique perspective. It helps me to understand better the reality in the farms and take clear and strategic decision in my role as a manager. I'm proud to be part of Deni Agrar since 2011. In that time, I'm starting to manage a single farm. After 4 years, I assumed the responsibility for entire network farms, and I overseeing all operational activities across the group. During my activity, I work closely with Jan to build and strengthen the company's operational structure. Being appointed COO, and joining the management team tasked to deliver the 2025-2030 strategy for me is both opportunity, a privilege, and a challenge. One that I have been preparing over the last years and which I embrace with determination. I'm decided to promote efficiency and sustainability once that we enter in the new and promising chapter of Agrar growth, alongside with my colleagues, great professionals, people which are coming from inside the company, who knows truly the organization. Thank you very much. Now I let Mihaela to present herself.
Good evening. My name is Mihaela Nicula, and I'm glad to be here today with you and share my experience and goals near Agrar team. After 15 years of growing alongside Agrar, it's a privilege to take on the role of Chief Financial Officer at such an important point in the company's journey. I have witnessed firsthand how our organization has evolved and scaled, and I'm really excited to help now and lead the next phase with a clear focus on financial discipline and strategic growth. As we begin implementing the strategy for 2025 up to 2030, I'm deeply committed to ensuring transparency, efficient capital allocation, to thus supporting long-term values creation for you, our investors. I'm proud to be part of a leadership team that shares bold vision and a strong sense of responsibility for Agrar future and our 300 employees and 3,000 shareholders. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Adina and Mihaela, for the brief introduction. And of course, this is not the last one. This was just the introduction. And in the coming years, they will also take up a more public role, and you will see them many times, especially during our quarterly calls, of course. As well as thank you also Marianne and Bogdan for being here, and also and Lakrima and to be also part of the management team, of course. So I think I can speak also on their behalf that we are all really motivated with this ambitious new strategy that we presented today. So let's but first things first. First, we have some administration to solve, because of course we presented last week our Q1 results, which we almost forget by all the fuss that we are going on these days, and that we had record results in the first quarter. So please, Gabriel, could you share the screen? So as we said already, the conference is recorded. Also, is translation into Romanian available. As we probably expect that it will be a long call today. If you have questions in the meantime, you can ask them in the chat. We don't know if we have the time to answer all the questions, but what we will do this time, because we have first quarter results and a strategy where we announce a vision, new investments, but also research projects, etc. So there's a lot of information to share, and I really want to take the time to explain it really well, chapter per chapter. So in case we don't have time to answer all the questions, what we will do this time is you can send them to the chat or by email, and we will publish them this week on the BVB, as well as we will send out an extra newsletter, and they will be published on our website. Also, there are many opportunities in the coming period to meet the team, also me. Later this week, I will participate in Field of Markets, in ZF, in another television show as well. And in the coming period, we have some other, I will participate at the Trade Field quarterly reporting, and there are some other events, Aria Gala, etc. So there are several events where we could also get in contact with each other, or you could propose to meet. So nevertheless, let's go to the I have here the, let me see, it's not working. Yeah, so in the first quarter, 17 million liters of milk. We had approximately 7% increase. By the end of this year, our goal is to reach approximately 70 million liters of milk. Last year, we had 63 million. And as we have mentioned many times, although we are presenting our new strategy today, our current strategy was lasting till 2027. And that was by doubling our business. And this we announced because if you all remember, we became listed in 2022. Then in 2022 and 2023, we tripled our business. And in the beginning of 2024, we said we want to double our business by the end of 2027 or latest in 2028. And we are quite on track on that behalf. If we look to milk production in 2023, that was 55 million liters of milk. This year, as I said, we expect 70 million liters of milk. And in the coming, we have 2 more years, two and a half more years to grow to this approximately 100 million liters of milk. The same if we look to the EBITDA. In 2023, it was approximately 54 million lei. The budgeted EBITDA for this year is 71 million lei. And of course, in the coming years, we expect to grow, especially that we are now start to populate the Straža farm, that we will have income from our compost line, the first one in Apold, and from next year also the second compost line that is under construction at the moment. So we are confident that we also will reach our 2027 targets. And also if we look to profit, in 2023, we had a net profit of 23 million, and for this year, we expect almost 40 million. So also there we are already close to the 50 million. That would mean doubling, let's say. So on all those matters, we are working hard, and we are clearly on schedule to double in 2027. Okay, this I assume everyone knows. We have 7,000 hectares in the group, 3,000 hectares we work outside the group. We have at the moment over 16,000 animals, and in 2027 we will have approximately 20,000 animals. Then I will give the floor now to Michaela for the first time, and we wish her lots of success for the first time presenting the quarterly results.
Regarding evolution of activity in first 3 months of this year, I would like to present you the following results. Agrar recording an increase with 27% of the turnover, reaching 51 million RON due to growth of milk deliveries with 7% and increase in selling price with 23% compared to the same period last year. We also achieved a net profit of 40 million RON, increased with 78% compared with the similar period last year, mainly influenced by raising of operating incomes. EBITDA marks a level of 25 million RON with 44% growth compared to the same period, showing improvement of operational profitability of the company. Growth of operational incomes were also influenced by increase of subsidies with 1 million RON compared with the first 3 months of year 2024. We estimate for 2025 supplementary subsidies for animals following operational start in Straža farm and also higher amount for animal welfare. Personal expenses grew with 28% compared with the first 3 months of 2024, mainly due to elimination of tax facilities for the agriculture sector, but also due to raising of minimum wage per economy and food ticket values in accordance with inflation. As you can see, also a growth in depreciation by 11% in the first 3 months of this year, related to livestock increase, but also the purchase of new agriculture machinery by the company. From the date of listing on the Euro Stock Exchange market in 2022, our company performance indicators have grown constantly, from 29 to 51 million RON turnover, meaning a growth rate of 71%, from 10 to 25 million RON EBITDA, with a growth rate of 151%, and from 3 to 14 million RON net profit, with growth rate of 354%. Operational profit has reached in this period 19 million RON, increased by 65% compared with the first quarter of 2024, mainly influenced by operating revenues of 73 million RON. Financial losses indicates a slight decrease of 2% due to lower interest expenses in this period. Like this, group net profit of the company increases with 78% in the first quarter of 2025, correlated with the growth of the operating profit. In the first 3 months of the year, DN Agrar continued to invest in Straja Farm and leased new agriculture machinery. All this concluded to the increase of long-term liabilities of the company with 5% compared this time with December 2024, up to 160 million RON. Therefore, long-term loan contracted from Exim Bank grew in this period with approx 4 million RON. Also, loan contracted from the leasing companies grew with almost the same amount. Meanwhile, loans contracted from ING Bank decreases by almost 2 million RON due to reimbursements made in this period. At the end of March 2025, DN Agrar recorded total assets of 380 million RON and own capital of 179 million RON, increased by 9% compared to the end of the year, showing like this a better financial situation and growth in the net assets of the company. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mihaela, for the clear presentation and information regarding the figures. Of course, we obtained again for the year a factor 10 score. So that is, of course, our goal that it becomes a tradition. We saw especially since December, let's say, we saw quite a significant decrease, but all companies were affected with it. Especially if you look to our stock compared to the aero market index, etc., at least we performed stable and we didn't show a significant decrease as the index on the aero market showed. Even if we look the share price performance was even plus 3% end of March. And of course, we have over 3,000 shareholders. And today the price is up and we are happy about that. Because of course, it's always stressful when you present a new 5-year strategy. It's how it will be perceived. But we are happy that it is well perceived so far. Well, if we go to the operational activity, as I said already, we see so far every month a growth. It was especially hard this year in March, April, etc., to pass the high milk output that we had last year, because last year, especially in the beginning of the year, we had a lot of cows who needed to calve, and it means automatically that we saw a significant increase in milk deliveries. And we also remember from last year, of course, that especially during the summer period, which started then mid of May to be really hot until September, that we were quite affected related to milk production output. So far, it's completely a different year. You can see it also. It is still really cold here in Transylvania. We have still many days of 7, 12 degrees, etc. We didn't have a lot of rain. Still, Alba, especially Alba, and especially the part where Alba, Sibiu, and Hunedoara County meet each other. That's more or less the area where we are located. That is the driest part at the moment in Romania, and we are heavily affected on the agricultural part for this year. On the other hand, of course, for the milk production part, it is good that the climate is mild. But especially on the agriculture part, and we'll come later on that part, we will see some consequences there this year. If we look to the European market, we see that the average what is paid to producers, the red line with the yellow dots on the left side of the screen, it's clearly that it's significantly higher than the previous year. We saw at the beginning of the year, of course, a decline that stabilized and growth again, and that will show you on the next slide. First is here the drought. I'm sorry. So you could see here Alba Iulia Sebeș, if you look on the screen, and more or less semi next to the middle of the country. That is extremely the driest part. So last year we were really fortunate with the climate. This year we are not fortunate so far. We have approx half of the tons of triticale compared to last year. We are also significantly delayed by sowing corn for this year. So we start already to purchase food from the market. We expect at least to purchase for 1 million euros extra of food on the market. And of course, for the corn, we need to see how it evolves in the coming period. Of course, this 1 million euro is not completely affected in the food cost for this year. It will be partially this year and probably to a larger extent will have some consequences next year. Here, if we look to the milk price, our milk price evolution, you can see our milk price till including July. What is here on the screen? So we saw at the beginning of the year, we saw quite a sharp decline. It's the purple line. Last year, the previous year is the green line from 2024. So it is significantly higher. Also, we can, of course, analyze here already that Q2 will also look good, that we will have so far we are clearly above the budget. But of course, as mentioned already, the food production for our cows remains a concern for this year. That also means that we will not do an update to the budget at the moment. Probably in case things continue, etc. And if we think it's necessary, we will at earliest come with an update at the presentation of our half-year results, which is end of August. But so far, if we look to the milk price and to the climate, which is very favorable for the cow so far, the year looks really promising. We go to the current projects. Straža Farm, of course, we started to operate in March from this year. We have currently over 900 cows. We are constantly populating. We are now building the second part of we call them the bicycle stables, the small stables, let's say. I think in 1 month approx they will be finished, and we can host another 900 cows at the farm. The 2 milking parlors are ready, are finalized. Although we only need 1 at the moment, but they are more or less both operational. Also in the coming period, we will start for 1 milking parlor to install the robots. When the time is there, we will start to prepare the installation of the robot, the pre-cleaning robot, and of course the dipping robot, as we have at the Lacto Agrar farm and the Koet farm already operational for a while now. By the end of the year, we expect at least to have 1,800 cows there, but we were working really, really hard to further increase that number by the end of the year. And of course, we will keep you updated throughout the year. We will reach that goal. Here are some new pictures where you can see the farm. So if you look to we have now the first 3 stables here are populated, and if we look to more the back side of the building, there you see already some roofing, etc. That is the next spot for the next 900 cows, which we are now, the construction is finalizing. As I said, it's several more weeks to go, and then we can again bring quite a significant number of cows to the Straža farm. Here we see a picture of both of the milking parlors. On the most first one, you could see there are cows already inside, and the other one is empty, of course, and we will also not use it this period. Because we can milk with 1 milking rotor 1,800 cows, and of course we are not there yet, or approx 2,000. Then to the compost factory, things going quite well. We are close to the product how we would like to see it, with the right components, etc. So we started with the certification process, And we are positive that we will sell this year 3,500 tons of organic fertilizer, starting probably to sell from August or September. We expect to start to sell those tons. As we announced already at the beginning of the year, we also started the construction at the Lacto Agrar farm for the second compost facility. Now we have a capacity of 7,000 tons per year, and by the end of the year, this will lead to 14,000 tons. The machine is ready to go on the boat, so I expect next week that the machine will go on the boat, or latest in 2 weeks, the machine will go on the boat from Japan to Constanza. Here you could see some other, this is our product, if you could see here. So the product looks really good. We reached the right temperature to have it almost constantly 78 degrees. So things go smoothly. The machine is fully automatic, etc. The production cycle is approx 27 days. Now in this climate, in the winter, it's approx 31 days. And we see clear interest for this market, and we will also see later when we discuss our strategy that we will heavily invest in extra compost plant almost on all the farms. Then regarding the biomethane plant, and I would like to clarify here something, because many times when I read sometimes online comments or whatsoever, I think there is somehow a misunderstanding here. Also, I had several times when investors approached me and they said that the biomethane project is a bad idea, or we should not do this. It's really risky. It's something completely new. You don't have the experience, etc. Now, as a counter opinion, let's say, or I would say a counter fact is, the biomethane project, in case it becomes operational, will be our least risky project in all our operations. And I will tell you why. It's an agreement between two parties, BSOG Energy and DN Agrar. BSO Energy, normally, based on the initial agreement, will do the investment. Will also do the operations. So the only contribution DN Agrar makes initially to this project is to deliver the feedstock, and we are responsible for the transportation and of course of the quality of the feedstock. But nevertheless, if we have a lot of milk, not a lot of milk, if we have drought, if we have a wet summer, there will be always manure. So nevertheless, we really believe in this. Of course, still injection into the grid is a concern, as it is still not implemented in Romania, but it is under consultation, and we clearly expect developments in the coming period. Also, we are already quite far. We started to finalize the acquisition of the land, as well as we start now the permitting process. And the Agrar has the opportunity later on to participate through an equity stake. The decision needs to be made next year. But that we will do, of course, in consultation with all our shareholders. But as I said, the risk is to operate, etc. We will not be part of the daily operation of the plant itself. Therefore, will be, that is not on us. Our goal is to have it operational in 2027, but in the scenarios that we will see in the strategy, the new scenarios, we budgeted from 2028. Then we, of course, go for obtaining the voluntary carbon certificates. With the first compost plant, we will receive approximately 16,000. By the end of the year, we will have the possibility to increase it to 38,000, and in time, in the coming years, we will increase it to approximately 100,000 certificates. And they have a yearly, and those we can sell. At the moment, they have a value of around 20 euros. We expect to increase it in the coming years. And they have a duration of 15 years. So you will obtain, the Agrar will obtain 15 years long, approximately 100,000 certificates per year if we implement all those compost plants. As approved by the shareholders beginning of this year, the new compost plant at Lacto Agrar and the solar panels. At the moment, they are mounting the solar panels at the Apold farm. Afterwards, next month, they will go to the Koet farm, and the month after, they will go to the Lacto Agrar farm to mount the solar panels. And later this year, we will also install the batteries that we have acquired. And the compost factory is also, here we have a picture already of the Etiapolde farm as they mounted, you can see here already on one side is completely now mounted with the new solar that are being ordered through the PNRR funds. We will have we will get back approx 60% of the initial investment through the PNRR fund. And yeah, so this was the part for the operational part and the financial part for the Q1 results. And then we will move quickly on to the strategy. And I think the strategy, it's good to give a short introduction to the strategy. As you could see, there are many, many pages. It was a lot of work to get it done. Also to do research. We did a lot of research and we did a lot of company visits, greenhouse visits on the wheatgrass production. We are working almost 2 years. Also, we had meetings with companies, also with multinationals to see how could we valorize our milk in a different way to extend our potential client base, etc. So what we wanted to do is to put a stip on the horizon to see how we think and what kind of ideas we have, because we try always to be as transparent and predictable as possible. But of course, especially in those unresty times with a lot of political chaos locally, but also internationally, a lot of climate policies, etc. It is hard to make an exact prediction what it will be in 5 years. And that's the reason, and if you read carefully, for that I really invite you, before you read the report, to also read the disclaimer that I would like to have having said. But we split it in 3 parts. So we announced several investments in the coming period. And those investments we also included in the scenarios predicted in 2030. There are also investments, although we are quite advancing with them, but we expect this year to have more financial clarity, and we will include them later into the scenarios. They are currently not in the scenarios. And then we have some things that we say, okay, on those kind of ideas, we start to do research, and we will come later back to you. Because there are a lot of plans mentioned in the plan, but not all the plans are directly in the scenarios. So we put only the investments in the scenarios for now that we are more or less certain that will be implemented, or where we started already the process of implementing them. So I think that is, as a side note, important to notice. Then we go to the slides. Yeah. So as I said, I'm not going to read the whole disclaimer. I wrote it myself, but so I know it. But I really invite you to read the disclaimer. We try to differentiate ourselves to give predictability and transparency, as I said, for 5 years. But the strategy will be constantly updated, and it will also be constantly discussed with you, our investors, because for all the project financing is necessary. So of course we need approvals to the shareholders meetings, and it is our intention to do it together. So if we see that you really don't believe in a certain things, of course we'll try to convince you, but we will probably not pursue it. And we'd really try to put everything in this strategy. So also the main market update, we gave more clarity on the dividends, etc. Because that is something from day one since we are listed. It's a question that is reoccurring. When do we start to pay dividends? If you ask us personally, we would prefer just to grow and not have to really think about dividends, but we see that it is clearly important for the Romanian market. So we try to come up with a solution to this part as well. But as I said, also that's open, of course, to discussion. So let's move on to the strategy itself. So as we already know, we are a company known who values heavily on innovation. We innovated a lot the last couple of years. We invested in robotization, in different no-till technology, which will almost save us this year for the preparing land and sowing and fertilizing the soil almost between 800 and 1 million euros. So we are constantly investing in further innovation and further integrate our strong business model. Our new strategy, so the 2025-2030 strategy, consists of 5 pillars. It's diversification, sustainability, that remains, of course, because that we are already extremely sustainable farming. We do circular agriculture, digital and automation, expansion of current business lines. So although we announced some diversification plans, it is not that we run away from our core products, milk, our core commodity that we produce for many years and which we know how to do very well. So we stick to that. And today we also announced our Koet 2 farm investments, which will start construction from next year. So we stick to our core business and of course value creation for all the investors. Why we think we can further grow in Romania. You can read the detailed SWOT analysis, also 5 forces analysis in the report. We still think, of course, Romania has the import, has the deficit. So we still think there is potential to grow. As well as we see on government level that the strategy of the government is to become a net exporter instead of a net importer. So there is still a lot of room to grow. Also, there's a lot of area available with a low density. Romania is relatively low density populated, as well as that we see growth opportunities for other business segments. For example, the greenhouses that we mentioned in the strategy, as well as there is Romania as well, an importing nation. We see also some issues, and that's one of the reasons that we look to federalize our milk in a different way. For example, that is the price cap that the Romanian government implemented to reduce the price cap on dairy products that Romania implemented for its consumers. This is heavily affecting innovative companies and to do all the investment that we want to do in technology and innovation, as well as in R&D. To give you an example, currently all the extra milk that we are producing since we opened Straja, we export the milk. We don't generally sell it here on the local market. We sell it to Greece. It could be sold to Italy, to Bulgaria, etc. So we sell it outside of the country. And of course, the disadvantage of exporting is the transportation cost. So for that, we will start to look how could we reduce transportation costs? One way to reduce transportation costs is to take out the water of the milk, so you can have more milk in the tank. And with that, we can significantly reduce the transportation costs. And through that, we can export it further away. Then also Italy comes to be way more in reach. And of course, the profit margin, if we would sell to Greece, we can really increase the margins. That are not necessarily big investments. If we think of only taking water out of the milk, you probably talk about an investment of between 50 and 70,000 euros for one farm. Nevertheless, you need to find, of course, some factories can process this type of milk, some factories they can't. So we will start to look in these kind of things to further extend our client base. Now this I will skip for now. So our business segments, where we separated all the departments in. So we will have milk production, compost, green energy, solar, and the biomethane plant, vertical farming production for wheatgrass, so for food for our animals, alternatives for valorizing the milk, and at close to the end of the announced strategy, of course, the greenhouses. So if we look for now, which is also a part of the scenarios presented at the end of the document, is the new investment in the Koet 2 farm, where we will have 5,000 dairy cows, in the end 150,000 liters of milk per day, approx 50 million liters per annum. And this one is also included in the scenarios till 2030. We finalized the acquisition of land, and currently we are in the permitting process. We have already offers for stables, construction of stables, etc. for the animals. And we expect to start construction in the second part of 2026. And we expect the first operations or the first cows that will be milked in March 2028. And then gradually we'll populate the farm as we do now with the Straja farm. Further, and that is one of our main goals this year, the management team is to increase the milk output at the Appold farm, where that's the farm where we, the last couple of years, did the main investments. And we need to Our goal is that the Apold farm will have an output of 100,000 liters of milk, and there will go a lot of energy this year to reach that level. Of course, the Straja Farm 1 is also included in the models. We expect construction to finalize by the end of next year at the Straja Farm, but of course it will take till 2028 when it is completely operational, fully populated with animals. And then we announced another project that's only a research and development project for the Straja 2 farm. There also we are started to acquire the land for it. Also, we will start in the coming years the permitting process, etc. That doesn't mean necessarily that we took already a decision to implement this farm as well. This decision will be taken probably end of 2027, that as soon as we start operations at the Koet 2 farm, we could start in case the business environment looks good, in case we find enough, in case we can extend our type of clients where we could sell our milk to, then we will also implement this farm. We are confident about it, but first things first, finalize first the Straja 1 farm. Then from next year, we will start to construct the Koet 2 farm with an investment expected between 13 and 15 million euros, 10 million euros loan. And we think that the 3 to 5 million euros will be own sources. Nevertheless, almost half of that amount are animals of the investment, cows in this case. That's almost that represents the total investment, approximately 7.5 million euros. The Koet farm, I said already, 10 million euros, 13 to 15 bank loan. The rest own sources, as we will gradually populate the farm. And the Potlach farm, of course, and some of the other farms, they will prepare the animals. The Koet 2 farm, that will be the first industrial complex. As you all know, we have now, the Koet farm is the farm with the silos. Just across the street, there will be the biomethane plant. And then behind the biomethane plant, we will build this large farm. Also there, we will build 2 composting units, as well as a large wheatgrass production facility, where between 20 and 30% feedstock will come from the cows. I will inform you later on more about this new investment and why we think this is the right move to make. Again, the timeline for the Koet 2 farm, as I said, we finalized the acquisition of the land for this. Now permitting, etc. starts, and we expect that we can start preparing the land and the first constructions can start in the second part of next year. Of course, in the meantime, we need to also obtain financing for this. But the first part anyway, we can do with own resource, reflecting the land and these kind of things and make the foundation. And then it is fully operational in 2029. 3 milk exchanges a day, and it will be just a copy and paste from the Straja farm that we are currently building. Then the Straja research farm. So this we will work on in the meantime. As I mentioned already, we started to buy the land. Then we will start to do permitting, and then in 2027, latest 2028, we will take the decision if we will implement this farm. Because especially, and for that we will also come later to the wheatgrass. Our farms are quite close, are on low distance located to each other. That brings many benefits, especially from a management perspective, because a lot of control is needed, especially when it are such large industrial complexes. Of course, for the land, all the land is more or less has a destination, let's say. Either it is our land or what we lease, of course, or it is from some other really large companies. So on that perspective, if we would grow further in milk production to sustain that with just conventional feedstock, it would mean that we need to find locations significantly further away than where we are now located. And nevertheless, as we also noticed again this year, the climate is really unpredictable. So I will come with other arguments why we think wheatgrass will be a great solution to partially contribute to the feedstock of our animals. So we go to the compost. For now, we in the financial scenarios, there are the four composed units represented. That means the first one, of course, in Apold farm, which is operational. The second one, by the end of the year, is operational. That means the one in Lacto Agrar. And then, of course, we will develop two composting stations between the Koet 1 and the Koet 2 farm. So that will reach 4, and in time we will expand it to 6, to 5 or 6, as we see that depends on the development of the Strasia farm, of course. At least in time there will be, now we predict for 2030 to install at least one plant in the Strasia 1 farm, but if we have the Strasia 2 farm, there will be also 2 plants there. And that will reach to a organic fertilizer production in 2030 or end of 2030, approx 40,000 tons. And this is a new business line which will come into force partially this year. And in the coming years, we will gradually increase the tons that we will sell outside of the group. Always, we will also use a part inside of our group. And it will reach, if we implement all those stations, 100,000 certificates per year for a period of 15 years. And those certificates we can sell outside on the market. Especially there are good developments expected, as now the EU and the United Nations are discussing that they will be tradable to the ETS system, the European trading system. Then green energy. I mentioned already the biomethane plant that we are advancing quite far. I expect in the coming 2 weeks that we announce two contracts signed, at least that's our goal. The plant will initially operate approximately 15 megawatts, which it could be extended to 20. It means a reduction of 90% of our emissions. And what is the collaboration about? Is that the Enagar is responsible for delivering the feedstock, and BSO Energy will develop the plant and operate the plant. What do we estimate? Our goal is 2027 to be operational, but we need to see how fast the legislative changes occur. And as I said, in the financial scenarios, it is currently budgeted from 2028. We expect a revenue of approximately 3.5 million euros. It could be also a bit higher if we are. Depends also on the quality of the feedstock that we deliver. Not all our feedstock are all our manure is contracted to this plant, so we could in the future also extend or deepening the cooperation and increase further the turnover. If we look to the solar panels, we expect in 2026 a reduction of 500,000 euros, the year after 700,000, and 2028 900,000 euros. And of course that are estimations, and it includes also solar panels on the Strasia farm and the Koet 2 farm. Then vertical farming. If you see here on the right bottom, this is from a farm in the United States. There you see wheatgrass, and probably I can almost hear you, a Dutch guy who's talking about wheat and grass, etc. But this is not to make our cows high, at least not on purpose. If they have a good time, it's fine for us, because everyone who's feeling well performs better, let's say. But we are doing already extensive research for the last 2 years, and currently we're in testing phase of the wheatgrass. And I can share maybe an interesting outcome. First, we thought the production cycle of wheatgrass is you sow it automatically by a robot, and then you harvest it approximately 7 to 8 days. At first, we thought the plant needs 7 to 8 days of light. Now, through our testing methods, through R&D, we found out that the plant, the first 4 days, doesn't need light, doesn't need natural light. So that's a huge saving on the electricity cost. Next to that, it delivers a constant quality of protein in the food and a constant freshness, because it will be harvested every day and will be immediately or after several hours be fed to the cows. And especially if you now think of the large industrial scale farms that we are building, it becomes more and more, way more important to have constant, fresh, high quality food. And also the last couple of years, we are not able to compete with market prices on the conventional crops. This year, we have even bigger issues, as I mentioned already, due to the unfavorable weather. So our main goal is not, as we want to grow on milk production, it's not our natural incentive to also grow with a lot of thousands of hectares. So what we will try to do is to replace between 20 and 30% of all our farms of the feedstock with wheatgrass. And through that, we can still grow, because we can grow other crops on those hectares where you don't want to grow anymore lucerne or triticale. So those are crops that can be replaced. Also rapeseed, we are importing from Hungary. Last year, we imported 4 million euros only on rape seeds. And anyway, in general, we also we every year buy food for our cows on the market. So it's not that we produce everything ourselves. But what comes out of the research is it needs 90% less water than conventional crops, no herbicides, no pesticides usage, as I said, and we are currently testing the optimum how to grow the plant. And it is really promising that for the first 4 days, it doesn't need light. Then you can harvest it on day 7 or 8. And now we have even more promising result is that if you would let it till day 8 or 9, you can almost double the production. One thing to pay attention to, that if you increase the cycle of harvesting, you could have easier kind of diseases in the plant. So now we are finding the optimum. We are also quite far with obtaining financing from this for the first plant. We expect that it will be between 3 to 4 million euros for a daily output of 20 tons. And the first one will be built on the plot next to the Coot 1 farm. And first, our goal was to have the farm operated by the end of next year, but especially taking in consideration the not favorable year that we are currently in on the agricultural part. I think the management team has decided to see if we could speed up the process and if we could do the installation of the first wheatgrass production farm in the first 6 months next year. So we have sooner extra food, because we are growing rapidly in number of animals and not rapidly in the hectares of land. So we need to provide more food for our cows in a predictable way. Next to that, research shows that the cow who has this constant fresh wheatgrass, that either the milk yield will increase or the cow will be sooner satisfied. It helps with the digestion and it will decrease the number of tons consumed per cow. As I said, we are really positive about this investment. Of course, it is clear in Asia, this is already a practice. It is in many ways done, either in a vertical farm or in containers, depends on the size of the farm, also in the United States. We will be the first one in Europe. It's also really sustainable. And of course, we will first develop the first plant. And of course, in case that is in the end a success, we will duplicate it from then every year to the other farms. Why wheatgrass? Improved milk quality. As you all know, our milk price is a certain price and we get a certain bonus for fat and protein. So it's important to maintain their good levels. It's really efficient. You don't need tractors, you don't need other heavy machinery, no pesticides, herbicides, etc. 90% less water. So there are many benefits. And if you would think really circular, if we would be able to take out the water from the milk, we could, and that water we could reuse, either to feed for the cows to drink off, but also that water we could use for the vertical farm. Of course, the main concern is the electricity in this part, and of course we will try to obtain through the PNRR funds solar panels. The timeline, because everyone can see in the plan, and of course in the end we will start with 20 tons for the Coot 1 farm, but in the end that plant will produce 60 tons per day to also provide enough food for the Coot 2 farm. Then alternatives valorizing the milk. So we still start to do research. There are already several large dairy or milk producers in Europe who sell, for example, to Unilever or Nestle or other types of companies, fat and protein. Through this kind of investment in special equipment to separate the fat and the protein and to sell it directly to these kind of clients, they do two things. They enlarge the potential clients where they could sell their commodity to, so not only to milk processors, but also to food producers. So you enlarge and diversify the type of clients you could sell your product to. You significantly decrease transportation costs, so you can sell your product way further away from the farm. That are two key messages, as well as, of course, we don't want to compete with our clients. We don't have a goal, or it's not our aim to start really to process the milk. So through this, we will not damage the market or create difficulties on the market for our clients. We are not in their way, and it will also open bigger markets, or at least the export markets. It will significantly increase the options to export, where there are better prices than the local milk prices, as well as a significantly decrease of milk costs. You could think also of butter or of milk powder. Also, we see a clear interest from like companies like Unilever, etc., for zero emissions milk. This will reach approx 2030. As I said, this is a research project. We will further research. Here we need to discuss with several clients. We had several trader companies, let's say. We have had several meetings with them as well, and currently we are working on to see how we could collaborate in the future. And then the greenhouses. So far, to all the segments that we have discussed so far, there were not really announced new business lines. The compost of milk as business line we do for many years. Compost we started this year. Biomethane was already announced a long time ago, and it's not a line where we need to sell a certain product. We will just deliver our feedstock and get a value in return for it. So the wheatgrass production is only part of the operations in the farm, because it provides feedstock for our animals, which enable us to grow. So the only real new business line that we announced, which is not included in the scenarios, is large-scale, industrial-scale greenhouse vegetable production. Currently in Romania, more than approx 10% of the crops is in a greenhouse. It's an importing nation. We did also market research regarding sales prices, etc., and we see that sale prices in supermarket in Romania are higher than, for example, in Hungary and Bulgaria. As well as that we see in my own country, for example, the Netherlands, that greenhouses are, especially there is this focus extremely on cost competition, and due to the significant increase in gas prices and the move towards renewable energies, and in time the Netherlands want to stop completely with gas, and it goes quite rapidly. We see a lot of those companies also moving. We see a huge potential for the Romanian market, especially that the greenhouses from today are fully digitized and optimized. We visited many of them in the Netherlands, my father and I, and we were really impressed that there is barely any human interaction anymore. It's all computer measured, how much water, which part to harvest, which block should stay a bit longer, etc. So of course we are aware that this is a new business line where we not necessarily have the experience in. We are really confident that there is a potential for the Romanian market, especially that there is a deficit, so it's easier to access the market, that the sales prices are good. And our goal is in the coming 1.5 years to formalize a clear plan and then come back to you with a clear proposal. And here we see also a big, this investment will be also a big part of the upgrade to the main market, as this we see clearly as a project where we think we could do a capital increase instead of other sorts of financing, and as well to benefit from subsidies that are allocated to these kind of projects. So that we see probably as a combination of subsidies, probably a capital increase, as well maybe some bank financing. And our goal is to have the first one operational in 2029, and the second one in 2030, or in that period. But that is more as an objective, as I said. They are not in the scenarios, to be clear, as it is fully in research. And we hope maybe already on the Investors Day to share more news, and otherwise that will be next year. But we will seriously work on this, and we don't look for a small plant. We will look really a minimum size should be 10 or 15 hectares. But if you would really not to dream, but to think bigger. Let's say we should probably think of 50 hectares or something like this. And there, of course, you have R&D. Yeah, we would cooperate with other types of companies as well. So that would be not a completely investment from our side itself, with no on that behalf with no experience. But there are also some synergies, because we will start to think in the cluster model, so where we can use our fertilizer, of course, that we produce with our compost. You could also make their usage of a biogas plant to provide electricity, etc. And we think it's really important as we start to become such a large milk producer with only a few large milk processors in this market, to not be fully dependent in the future only on milk, as well that we have really large farms. There's also a disease going on at the moment, etc. So we will start to slowly diversify. But the diversification is so far only the greenhouses, the other parts that we announced, the other investment, and I want to be really, really clear, because I see a lot of misunderstanding in this regard. The other investment are part of the operational model. What we will do is we will create a kind of a flow chart to make it maybe clearer how all lines will flow in the future. So then to wrap up, because we're talking of over an hour, to wrap up the key initiatives, which is in which are in the financial scenarios that we have presented. That is the Denaga Strasia 1 farm, of course, the compost facility in Waidé, Lacto Agrar is that is currently under development. By the end of the year, it will be operational, and solar installations you saw already currently mounted on the roofs of the Apold farm. Next month, the Koet farm, and the month after, the Lacto Agrar farm. Then we go next to 2026. So we were now in 2025. Then in 2026, the construction phase of the Strasia 1 farm should be finalized. Not all the animals will be there, but the construction phase should be finalized. Start the construction of the vertical farm unit for feedstock production for cows, for wheatgrass production at Koet 1. We hope to announce financing, I think, in the third quarter of this year. I think we aim for that. Of course, an extra compost facility there at the Koet 2 farm, only first one. We will only build the second one when the Koet 2 farm comes operational. A Laguna project. Yeah, several times we mentioned a Laguna. That is the Laguna where we collect the manure. Now, when we start, of course, with the biomethane plant, it means the manure from the farms will directly go to the biomethane plant. And the digestate that comes back from that plant will either go in our composting plants or it will go in our lagunas where we now collect the manure. But that will be not possible anymore because the manure will leave directly from the farm. So what we will do is we will build more of these big lagoons. Every time it's an investment of approximately 100,000 euros in the fields. So we can invest more in that we have this 8-kilometer manure pipe, what we invested several years ago in. First, we could with one tractor fertilize 14 hectares per day. Now we can do over 40 hectares per day. So we would like to do that on more locations. So we will build those large lagoons in the fields. And what will happen, as I said, the cow shits. That manure, the fresher the better. Let's say, it sounds a bit strange to talk like this, but the fresher the better because it comes more gas output. We will bring it immediately, or maximum 2 hours. It will be at the biomethane plant, and then of course it goes through this plant. Then it comes out. It goes either to the compost plant or it goes directly to the fields in those lagoons. And then from there, this tractor with this big manure pipe, for example, of 8 kilometers, can start to fertilize the soil. So we try to find an optimum not to have double transportation costs. In 2026, we hope to announce some dairy product line diversification. For now, what we see most suitable, but as I said, it's completely under analyzed phase, is probably to take out the water, because that is a really easy step with a relatively small investment. And we can bring the milk way further away. We can sell it way easier to Greece, for example, where the milk price is significantly better, but also to Italy than here. As well as probably milk powder, which is also quite an interesting market, especially that there is not much produced in Romania of this product. Then we go to 2027. as we said, we expect the initial goal is that the plant will be in the second part of 2027 operational. As I said, we budgeted on the safe side from 2028 to have the full amount included in our scenarios. Of course, in 2026, we will start the construction of the Koet 2 farm, and it will go on in 2027, where we also will start to build the milking parlors, of course, of the Koet 2 farm. Solar panels expansion in Straža. We hope that the funds come open. The PNR funds will open again in September, and then we will try to obtain for Straža with 60% of subsidies as well for the Straža farm, the solar panels, and the extra Laguna in the fields for Koet. Then 2028 starts the Koet 2 animal acquisition phase. Of course, our goal is to populate the farm with our own animals, but of course, with such an relatively ambitious growth plan, we need to see if maybe, but that really depends on the market prices of animals at that time, if you should also purchase animals from other farms. But that is a decision that will be taken later on. At least generally speaking, our goal is always to populate the farms with our own animals due to quality control. The second of the vertical farm unit for Koet 2. So first we start with 20 tons. Then with Koet 2, we will increase to a 60 tons daily output. The second compost facility for Koet 2. So we double that capacity from 7 to 14,000. Okay, Laguna project near the Straža farm in the fields. And of course, the goal is the biogas to be fully operational for a full year. And then for 2029, of course, in that time, we hope also that we announced already the new strategy till 2035. Let's say that should be the goal. But first, yeah, the greenhouse phase 1 should become operational. So we expect to be the allocation or the budget allocation or the raise of capital, probably that would be either in end of 2028 or somewhere then in the beginning of 2029. Of course, that really depends also on the market conditions, etc., if it makes sense to do, and also with the type of companies we partner up and till what extent will be DNAGRA's participation in such a project from a financial perspective. And there we will have two things, the greenhouse and of course the vertical farm in Lacto Agrar. Then we go to 2030, the last year of our proposed strategy, the second greenhouse and the vertical farm in Appold to produce the feedstock for those animals. Of course, in Appold, now I go way too far. So, of course, in Appold, there we also expect to have a size of 30 tons to 40 tons per day, as it is also a large farm in the group. So with the investments announced, and that are also representing in the scenarios, we think in 2030, we can deliver approximately 150 million liters per year. In case we would also invest in the Straža farm, we will reach in around 2000, let's say between 2030 and 2032, we will reach a milk production of 200 million liters per year. So that means significant, that means completely doubling our 2027 strategy, let's say. So here we have the whole one more time, but this you can also read in the report. It's good to mention the report will also come in Romanian. It was a lot of work to create this report. We expect in the beginning of next week that the report will be also published in the Romanian language. As I said, here is what I just mentioned, between milk production annually between 150 to 200 million, close to 30,000 animals, 6 composting units producing 40,000 tons of organic fertilizer, approximately 100,000 certificates, voluntary carbon certificates, which we can sell probably to all over Europe, but also it's certified through gold standards. We can also sell it in Japan. It's recently signed a cooperation agreement. 5 wheatgrass production units between 25 to 30%, 2 industrial greenhouses. They are listed on the main market of the stock exchange. Now we aim for around 2028. This is always, it's hard to predict when is the right moment, but 2028 would make really sense if we look to the strategy, as I mentioned already, because the other projects we aim to finance through mainly bank financing and partly subsidies and partly own sources. But with the greenhouses, although we aim also subsidy attraction, but there we expect, as we look for a large-scale project, that is the right moment to do a capital increase, and that we would like to combine when we do the upgrade to the main market. To produce milk close to net zero, and of course, reduce our emissions with the biomethane plant, and to have a yearly turnover, yearly income of between 3.5 or 4 million euros. So DNAGR, a vision of scaled growth, as we said, resilient, profitable, sustainable, and ready for the future. So then we go to the scenarios, and please pay attention here. So what is included in the scenarios to 2030? All our current operations, so everything what we do today. Secondly, of course, the Stragia farm, fully operational, expected in 2028, and gradually we increase the milk output, also in the financial scenarios. The Q2 farm started of construction, second part of 2026. Start the first milking cows March 2028, and then gradually populate the farm. By the end of 2029, the farm should be fully populated. That is also included in the financial scenarios. 28,000 tons of organic fertilizer up to 2030. So we have now the Appold farm has one compost plant, 7,000 tons. By the end of the year, we double. We will have 14,000 tons capacity, and then of course we will have two others at the Koets farm, which will reach to 28,000 tons. We will have both of 7,000, and then the next ones where we will reach approximately 43,000 tons are the ones if we would implement them in Stragia. But for now, only the four, so Appold, Lactoagrar, and Koet 1 and Koet 2, those composting plants are now included in the financial scenarios. The biomethane production from 2028 and the installation of solar panels. And then it's extremely important what is not in the scenarios. Because if we would be able to implement also some of those other projects that are listed below, of course, the financial situation and the operational performance of our companies in the group will differ extensively. What is not included? The Stragia 2 farm, investment decision planned or scheduled to be made end of 2027, beginning of 2028. I mentioned already, but we will start before with permitting and acquiring of land to build 14,000 tons of organic fertilizer, 2 greenhouses for vegetable production, solar in Koet 2 and Stragia 2, wheatgrass production. Although we work confidently to implement next year the first wheatgrass production plant, we think that we have the financial figures latest in September. So then by the end of the year, we could include them in the scenarios and update the scenarios. Let's say that's the reason they are not in the scenarios yet. Different valorization of the commodity milk. Of course, here it really matters which differentiation you would add, let's say. And also, for example, if you would succeed to separate fat and protein to sell, we could also sell those products to large bakery factories, for example. So it means another thing you could do is lactofrine. It's quite hard to get that out of the milk, but there from that substance, medicines are made. So there are quite some options. We should not complicate our lives, of course. But we looked for opportunities to have a potential larger group of clients who operate in different segments, so to be as resilient as possible. Then we have the 100,000 certificates. The reason we didn't integrate them in the financial scenarios is that only by the end of next year we will obtain the first 16,000 certificates. And of course, they are traded on the market and the prices could be different. So it is really hard to give a value on that, because now they are 20 euros, but there are many experts, they say they will grow in time to 50 or 60 euros. So we find that variation way too large to give a clear we don't have a clear idea so far how much that will contribute to the financial figures, so we don't want to dilute or to pollute mainly our financial figures. And the certificates obtained due to the implementation of no-till, okay, that is relatively a small number. There we see more of approx 5,000 certificates per year. So it's really important. What you see on the upper part of the screen is included in the scenarios to 2030. What is on the bottom of the screen, it's not included. And every time when we announce such an investment, we will include them in the coming period in the financial scenarios. Then we go to the scenarios. Scenario 1, the milk price is considered based on the average milk price in 2023. Scenario 2, the milk price is considered based on the average milk price in 2024. And if you compare them also with the previous announced scenarios, you see a significant increase for what we predicted or estimated in our doubling strategy for 2027. Here it is a significant growth compared to those announced. And I mentioned already, when we got listed, we tripled our business between in 2022 and 2023. And then from the beginning of 2024, we announced that we want to double our business, not specifically a single indicator, but to double our business by the end of 2027. And as I mentioned, and I gave you the figures in the beginning, we are clearly on track of that. And this is a further extension of that strategy to 2030. Then scenario 3, in scenario 3, the milk price is considered based on the average milk price at the end of 2024. It was a really high milk price we had at the end of last year, the beginning of this year. And of course, the scenario 4, that's a bit above the current price. So, and as I showed you already during the Q1 presentation, is that at least for the second quarter also, and for 1 month in the third quarter, as you could see over there, the milk price remains significantly higher than the one last year. We expect in the summer that the milk price will further go down and that it will show an increase approx October. At the moment, there is too much milk on the market. So in general, in all of Europe, we saw a decrease in milk, and especially on the spot market, we saw quite a significant decrease. But we see already, at least in Northwestern Europe, that it is stabilizing. So later in the year, there could be another increase. But for now, we see it stabilized, including July, and I expect in August, probably maybe also September, to have a decrease. But as far as we can oversee now, we don't expect that it will come that close to the price last year. Then main market and dividends. As I mentioned already, it's not that we are a giant promoter of dividends. We think we can mainly bring value by growing, by having a long-term strategy to be dedicated to implement all those plans. But it is also clear that we are not deaf to requests from investors and to see how generally speaking the market operates. And this is a question we get from the beginning. And of course, there should be also a time where we reward all investors for the long-term partnership. But generally, we are not really looking for speculators, but for long-term investors. And of course, that should be also rewarded. So we thought the right moment to do that is probably when the biomethane comes into force. And although we will consult with all our investors to see if this is the right move to do, but for them, we see the possibility to either pay dividends, or we could have a purchase share back program. And in the coming years, because 2028 is far away, we will analyze constantly the performance of our share price. A solution for the coming years could be to give out free shares. Honestly, and it's maybe more and more a personal opinion, it's hard to estimate what the market exactly wants. All the time when I meet investors, I ask them, would you be interested in free shares, or what's your opinion about it? And the answers are really diverse. So, but we will keep on discussing and analyzing what is best for the Agrar without slowing down our investment goals, of course. Michaela is really busy with the implementation of IFRS. We are quite far with it, and our goal is to start to report quarterly also in IFRS from 2026, as well as, of course, the results in 2025. By the end of the year, they will also be in IFRS. That I have said, I think. Now, why to invest in DNA Agraar? Of course, I'm a little bit biased. I admit that at first, but we have a proven track record. The first 2 years of listing tripled our business. Now, from 2024 to 2027, we are clearly on track to double our business. And from based on the budget of 2025, we predict a doubling to 2030, or that's our aim. As I said, the strategy is not an end goal. Don't pick us exactly on the fixed date or the fixed amount. It is quite, we feel a little bit naked, let's say, in front of all of you, because we share 5 years. It's really hard to predict in this world how the world will look like, what governments do, etc. So we need to have an agile approach, and for that we will update you constantly the next steps. We are a market leader not only in Romania but also in Europe. It's innovation driven. So far, we did everything what we said and what we promised, or more. And our goal is to maintain that dynamic, and also the transparency, which is for us a core value in our group. And we think through these investments and to speed up further growth, we become really ready to be an important main market company, to perform very well on that market, as well as that will support later on as well an M&A strategy to not be solely in Romania, but also in the countries around us, to diversify in that sense as well. We do things step by step, and we will take you through the whole process. And for that, I really invite you for the Investors Day in September, as then we'll go deeper into all these kinds of investments. Clusters, I mentioned already, that will look something like this. Of course, what is the advantage? Everyone can imagine what is a cluster that you use, of course, from different type of businesses, all the types of resources, and you use them together to be as most efficient, to be most resilient, to buy in bulk, etc., and to develop a really sustainable business model. And more or less, DNA Agraar in itself is a cluster, let's say. Yeah, you could argue. So we see a lot of potential there, especially with the size that we are reaching now. Yeah, then we are at the end. Thank you very much for your attention, and we will go to see. There were some questions asked on forehand. I will start first to answer those. The Strategy project status, we answered. What are the main strategic directions through which DNA Agraar intends to increase its margins and strengthen its position? I mentioned already the cluster model. So we try further to optimize and integrate all the group companies, which means I mentioned already the wheatgrass production, compost or manure valorization, because we valorize 2 times our manure, or you could even argue 3 times. 1 time through the biomethane plant, secondly through the compost plant, and thirdly, of course, it's still the digestate. It's still a product what we bring on the fields and support the growth of the conventional crop. Then congratulations on the way you are developing your business. Do you plan to enter the milk processing segment as well? No, as I mentioned already, we don't want to compete with our clients. For that reason, we look into different ways how we could valorize our milk. I mentioned already, maybe extraction of water, significantly reduction of transportation costs, milk powder. It's not that could be an option to start to produce that, or to separate the fat and the protein, and maybe to look for clients like to large, for example, bakery factories or other type of food producers who need fat and protein in their products. By that, we maintain our successful relationship with our clients. We want to grow with them together and not to drive away from them. So for that, we look in a different way. Because also separately, fat and protein, you could also sell it to the milk processor, let's say. So that those companies will be also still a part of the potential clients. When are dividends paid? As I said already, this question we get every time. I mentioned it to the bit earlier. Why no composting plants at the farms Koet, Product and Strasia? Why no solar panels at the farms Product and Strasia? I mentioned already, probably it's a misunderstanding. We have now one compost plant at the Apold farm. The second one is under construction and will be operational end of this year at the Lacto Agrar farm. From next year, we will have the first compost plant at the Koet 1 farm. Several years after that, we will have the second one there at the Koet 2 farm. That means already 28,000 production of tons of organic fertilizer, as well as the solar panels. Product, the majority of the animals of Product are outside in the fields. And a big part is located at the Apold farm, so they fall under the majority of the electricity consumption is produced by the Apold farm, so that is covered by now the installation at the Apold farm of solar panels. At Koet farm, and next month it will be installed. And Strasia, to be able to obtain financing, the commissioning of the building needs to be done, etc., and other things, steps. And also they need to reopen the subsidy scheme, which is expected in September. And then we have prepared all the documents already. Then we will try to obtain also financing or subsidies for the Strasia farm to install the solar panels. And our goal is, of course, to install them then next year. When do you aim to move to the main market category of the BVB? Our natural goal would be 2028. Although I also understand that it's sometimes confusing, or we change several times, but it also we become more and more experienced. So every time we reanalyze, it must be clear that, of course, we are not satisfied, and for a long time we are already not satisfied about the valorization or the valuation of our company on the market. That leads also to concerns, which we will closely analyze also in the coming periods to see if there are no significant improvements in the valuation of the DNAGR group. We should do a clear research. What is the reason for that? Is that just because we are on the arrow market, or do we don't communicate well, or are our plans not well understood, or is our financial performance lacking, or whatsoever? To see how we can solve this issue. And it turns out if that is just because we are on the arrow market, of course we could take a different decision, but our aim is now 2028. Naturally, finalization and fully operation of the Strasia farm, start to milk at the Koet 2 farm, start to have the first full year of biomethane production, and that is a year before we would like to start produce vegetables in a greenhouse. So it's a natural moment to go to the market and to do a capital increase. What are the risks and opportunities once the presidential elections are completed and the future government is formed? As I mentioned already before, a great concern is the price cap on milk. That is one of the reasons that we start to look more outside to be able to sell our commodity outside of Romania to have a better value for the milk, as well as, of course, the unpredictability of legislation. We had this year the agricultural facility that was cancelled. We had a direct increase of 14 or 15% in salary costs for our agricultural employees. Also constantly, sometimes 2 times per year, the increase of the minimum wage, etc. And of course, we had the huge or quite significant deficit, financial deficit, which also concerns us because that probably would mean taxation increases. And of course, as the population votes and companies cannot vote, we can all imagine we will be the first victim of the government, let's say. But we are really positive. We hope that everything calms down, that the markets are calming down, predictability, openness to innovation. For example, the problem, of course, with the biomethane plant is that Romania is almost the last country to inject biomethane into the grid. But in general, we are positive. We hope that things calm down with a pro-European approach. and with a friendly attitude towards the business environment, who would like to invest in Romania and would like to grow and to work on the food deficit. So generally we are positive, but we need to see, because there is the big hammer of Damocles, of course, with the financial deficit. But generally, we hope things calm down. We will see, but it's hard to predict. Then Daniela, could you help me the other
Yes,
question?
sure. Good evening, everyone. So we will start with the questions from the Q&A section. The first one is not a question, but is rather an advice. It is better invest than give dividends. So according
we agree
to...
on that. But,
Okay. The next question from the same person, it's if you plan to produce organically in the future.
That could be another way of valorizing the milk. We have also thought about this in the past. I think, for instance, when my father decided to build a coot farm many years ago, the idea was to produce organic milk or bio milk. But at that time, it turned out, for the scale that we operate, the quantities are way too large. And also, we look back to COVID, but especially the war in Ukraine, etc. To these kind of products, we saw a huge decrease in consumption. So then, if there is a clear market, we are clearly open for that, and we have really nothing against it. And it will be also really nice in our ESG strategy. But for now, we think the market is too small. And the market is too small. Our farms are too large. Let's say that depends a bit from how you look at it.
Thank you. The next question, it's related to the main customer of DNA Agrar when it comes to milk. Which are the main customers?
Yeah, our largest client is Lactalis. They are also here in Alba County. It's also the largest one in Romania, the French multinational. In the past, it was Alba Lact. That's our largest client. Then we have some other clients. Generally, we don't disclose with Lactalis the public information. Generally, we don't disclose, but we have approximately 6 clients at the moment. And as I said, those are all contracted. With Lactalis, we have long-term contracts of 3 years. But now the extra milk, of course, as I said, there is too much milk on the market. So the extra milk that we currently produce, as we think that generally the remaining price is too low. So we looked for alternatives. So now we sell it to Greece mainly, also some to Bulgaria. Also, we delivered in the past to Albania. The disadvantage of Albania is that they are not in the Schengen zone, and sometimes trucks need to wait really, really long, and that causes problems. So we mainly see potential, especially if we could reduce production costs. I think we would year-round really open to export a part of our milk mainly to Greece and Italy.
Thank you. The next question is also related with the milk and with what you already answered, and it's about why the milk needs to be exported. So maybe re-emphasize a bit here.
As I mentioned already, at the moment there is a price cap implemented by the Romanian government on dairy products. Of course, that pushes the milk price down. So that is a first reason that we don't want to depend on these kind of things, especially with the unstable climate, where we expect that there will be tax increases, probably layoffs at government level, etc. So we don't expect that the milk price cap will be removed soon, let's say, or relatively soon. It made us clear that we thought, okay, we should, especially now when we start to produce so much more milk, and if we would like to grow in the milk part, we need to be sure that we have several channels where we could sell the milk. You can do 2 things. You can look for more processors. The processor market in Romania with our quantities is quite limited, especially also with serious clients who pay on time, who respect the quality, etc. So we see our potential clients in Romania for 5 or 6 factories, maybe 7, that also can handle full trucks. We don't sell half a truck or a few thousand liters. We only sell a full truck, so that's over 20,000 liters. There are not many processing plants in Romania who can handle these kind of trucks on a daily basis. They don't have the storage capacity or the processing capacity. So then we were thinking, okay, how could we increase the number of clients, as it's also a request from investors constantly that we should not depend on several really large ones. What we could do? So we could either look for more processors, which we are doing, of course, inside Romania, because we are also selling to traders to other factories in Romania, but I cannot name them because that would be not appropriate, or to sell outside. Now, of course, it doesn't make sense from a price point of view, or it is impossible to compete, for example, with Hungary. So you can generally not export your milk to Hungary, as Hungary is a clearly exporting nation. So then we looked further away, and the milk price, especially in Italy, but also in Greece, is quite good, and there is a shortage there. Especially in Greece, they more or less need to import all their milk. It's one of the reasons. For example, Olympus, a big Greek brand, has here a factory, etc., but mainly produces for the market in Greece. So we thought, okay, let's look that we can find other processes where is the milk price stable and predictable, that we can do these kind of investments. But of course, one of a bottleneck is the transportation cost. So now it more or less equalized, let's say. Still, for us, it feels more favorable now to sell the milk mainly to Greece, and we look how we can optimize the margin. As I said already, one thing is take out the water, because you can transport way more, significant reduction of transportation costs. Milk powder is another thing which you could sell, of course, all over the world. And so there are some other ideas for it. But mainly it is because we are really large. There are not that many of large processors, so we need to see to be not a competitor in our own market, let's say, or to become a competitor of ourselves. It's true that still almost half is import, etc. So we still see significant potential for growth, but you also depend on the type of clients. And if we succeed is with the fat and protein, as I mentioned already, a way wider range of type of clients become available. I'm not saying we will succeed in this, but that's the reason we want to understand for you that we do everything, and we look constantly how we could somehow increase our margins and also reduce dependency on a few clients, or how we could extend this. We think if we can extend also to factories or to a Unilever or to a Nestle or whatsoever, if we could sell also certain products, it opens the doors, let's say, to also in the coming years till 2030, but also after 2030 to significant still grow on milk. And that if you even think larger in an M&A strategy, let's say, if you could work with these kind of companies and sell who are represented everywhere, it could also really support a M&A strategy.
Thank you, Peter. The next two questions are related to the company operational activity. And it's as follows. How would you describe the company activity in the livestock segment in Q1 2025? In Europe, we saw that the foot and mouth disease appeared in Germany and Hungary. Was there any impact on Dan's operations?
Well, I think I know, but I think Adina can answer way better this question, as she's our newly COO and works daily to protect our farms from this disease.
In Q1 of 2025, Deniagrar delivered approximately 17 million liters of milk, 7% more than in Q1 of 24, reaching a production peak of nearly 6 million liters of milk in March. This solid performance reflects the continued expansion of our livestock herd and the solid performance of efficiency of our production process. So far, about foot and mouth disease, Romania has remained unaffected by this disease outbreaks reported in Germany and Hungary. In Deniagrar, we respond with a high level of biosecurity access points to disinfect all the machines, vehicles, and equipment, vigilant livestock monitoring, and outgoing staff training. Our goal was not only to prevent any veterinary health risk, but also to ensure full operational continuity and maintain investor and stakeholders' confidence. Germany is free official starting with 12th of March, but in 7th of March in Hungary was confirmed first disease outbreak, and it was taken the restriction necessary. Hungary will be declared free of disease in 30 of May, and in 30 of June, all European Union will be out of restriction. So everything looks really good and is under control. We continue to maintain strict biosecurity protocols and monitoring to ensure our operation remain unaffected. Thank you.
Thank you, Adina. And we have another question regarding the operationalization of Straja Farm. So now that you started the operations, if you can share how many cows are currently in milk production and how many are young cattle?
Yes. Straja Farm will cover an area of 10 hectares, will be equipped with 2 rotary milk parlors, and will reach full capacity in 3 years, with an estimated milk production of 100,000 liters per day. We come operational in this year in March. Now we are there with 900 cows. In the next period, we will continue to grow progressive as we build, and in the end of the year, we expect to have 1,800 animals there. Young stock, we don't have there. We have only milking cows. Young stock we keep in the Denia Raport, Lactoagrar farm.
Thank you very much. The next question is related to the strategy, and it's as follows. What vegetables are you planning to produce in the greenhouses, and how many tons are you predicting to yield?
As I said, what we have done so far is we conducted have 2 market studies, not only for Romania, but we made a comparison. We could include Bulgaria, Poland, Hungary, Croatia, Austria, I think. But Austria is probably too close to the Netherlands to be competitive on that part. Although a really interesting area, I think, to develop something large scale would be between Vienna, Bratislava, and Budapest. As there you have a significant metropolitan area with different type of client groups. But okay. For now, for the first project, we look for Romania. As we mentioned already, the outcomes of the research show strong sales prices on the local market and a deficit. The main research involves leafy greens. We researched, but also tomatoes, paprikas. The research consists strawberries. So it's a wide research, and we didn't select the final 1 or 2 crops yet. Anyway, how it works in large industrial scale production is for sure the first one. If we develop the first large scale greenhouse, there we will produce only 1 crop. We will look really to the Dutch model, and there you see generally for 1 crop at least 15 hectares. Let's say, as I said, we would like to think bigger and to look bigger. Maybe to 30 hectares or 50 hectares, or this is more or less we have in mind, but of course it's a bit dangerous to say, because if afterwards we build 15 hectares, you will be disappointed. But as I said, we are now discovering all those kind of crops, what of technologies are necessary. Our aim is that it is almost fully automatic. That is a crop, so we will look for a crop that's fully automatic, which has a most stable consumption in Romania, but also in other markets. Which we could that crop be only sold here, or do we have also other markets where we could sell it to reduce the risk, etc. So we will not disclose now because it's early stage the crop. But as I said, we have visited many greenhouses. We have also started the discussions with suppliers for greenhouses who sell them all over the world. And now, I think, I'm not sure, the goal at least is to work this year to have a clearer plan and to probably select 2 crops or two types of vegetables, and then we will come back to you. And also, of course, we don't want to make anyone else a smarter than the rest already are, because our goal is to be the first large-scale greenhouse operator in Romania. So we will disclose the final crop when we also more or less know for sure that we will go to invest in that direction, let's say.
Thank you, Peter. The next question is also related to the strategy, and it's if you are looking into the beef meat market as well, if it's something that you are considering in this strategy time window.
No, we don't. Also, we don't think it fits in our ESG and strategy as well. But okay, nevertheless, the beef market in general is extremely volatile, and what we see, we get almost every few weeks we get offers. Mainly in our investors' email, it's completely polluted with spam and people who want to sell something to us or farm, but a lot of things are cooperation, which isn't this email is not meant for. But that on a side note, what we see, we get almost constantly offers for the acquisition, or if you want to partner up with Angus farms, and they have all great stories. Only if you look to the figures, it's terrible. And then I remind you to our quote of our report. As I said, we don't do politics, or we don't make our life more difficult. Our cows just do profits, and so far it turns out that this beef part is extremely difficult, because there are many companies who try to do this, especially with Angus, and they are almost all looking for a partner or to be acquired by a third party.
Thank you. The next question is related to the share capital increase in the near future, and if so, is there an estimated sum for this?
No, as I said, it really depends on what crop, how much technology do you implement, etc., and of the market condition. What I can say in general, let's say no. Let's not go this way, because in my opinion the plans are too premature to say something. Of course, we have financial models in mind, we etc. But it really depends on the crop, etc. So if I now give a figure for paprika, in the end we do strawberry, it's a completely different crop with different sales prices, etc. So give us a little bit time for this. For the capital increase, as I said, we think big. So it will be quite a significant amount. Also, of course, we would like to have in the future pension funds or institutional investors on board. It's a clear goal in our strategy. That's the reason we meet them every year. Those companies, they don't invest generally less than 20-30 million. So the investment will be at least that. But it's not our goal to fully do a capital increase for the full amount, as we think that this is a clear project where you should also be able between 40 and 60% financing through subsidies, let's say. So that we should really incorporate, because there are many funds available for this type of sector, especially that it barely exists here in the country. So you can think of Horizon funds, you can think of the European Innovation Fund, and there are several other funds where you could think of as well.
Thank you very much. The next question is related to investments, and what investments do you need to expand the poult farm, except for the lagoon investment?
No, all investments in the poult farm are done. They are finalized. Maybe a little roof here or there, but or some concrete. But generally, everything is finalized. Now, the last investment is, of course, the solar panels. The farm has already a capacity of 100,000 liters. Although we have grown really fast there the last couple of years, which was a lot of pressure on the team, as well as that also the far majority of the animals that need to be moved to Straža are there as well. So far, we didn't succeed to reach the 100,000 liter of milk production per year in the poult farm. Now it is over 70,000. We also reached days of 78,000 liters, but we are not there to the 100,000. And as I mentioned already, one truck is over 20,000 liters. So we talk already now about one truck per day that we could sell extra from the poult farm. So there we are really focusing on, and especially Adina, she's really focusing on that. It's good to know the Lacto Agrar farm is one of our best performant farms in our group. That was always managed by Adina. So now we hope, and not only hope, but of course the idea is now when she becomes COO, that she will duplicate this also to the Apold farm. But the best performing farms are the Koet farm at the moment. That is at the moment the best performer, and the Lacto Agrar is really consistently delivering a high milk output with a constant quality where the processors are really happy with. For example, in the Lacto Agrar farm, the cows give 36 liters, some 38 liters. And in the Apold farm, that is significantly lower. That is on average, I think, under 30 liters per day. So there we have potential to grow, but for that we also need to move some animals to Strasje, that it is more quiet there. And we did a lot of investments there. We invested in a second milking parlor last couple of years, and we increased the capacity there with 50%. So that was quite an ambitious growth. But we expect by the end of this year or somewhere beginning of next year, let's say, to reach that capacity at that farm. So no extra. The lagoon is only extra. The lagoon is only related to the biomethane plant in this case, because the biomethane plant will be of the lagoons on the farms in the future. They will be used as storage for the digestate that comes out of the biomethane plant. As I mentioned already, now we collect all the manure that the cows produce in a lagoon, and then it stays there until you bring it on the field. The whole process will be different as the biomethane plant comes operational. The process will be the cow delivers their manure, you bring it as soon ASAP to the biomethane plant, then it stays there for a certain period, then it comes out as digestate, and then you need to storage that digestate somewhere. So that will be, we will use the lagoons at the farm, and we will increase the lagoons in the fields to further increase operational efficiency with the manure pipe, as I mentioned, but no extra investment necessary.
Thank you, Peter. The next question is related to Koet 2 farm. If you need more land to create this farm.
Yeah, the Koet, sorry, do you know? Yeah.
Koet 2 farm.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, for
land.
we hope, or hope is this doesn't really sound strategic while we are discussing strategy today. So it's not, of course, hope is not the right word, I would say. So our goal is to limit as much as possible extra land, so let's say, because it is, and also sometimes I read it online, it is really annoying, and I can imagine when an entrepreneur or business leaders talk about, yes, we need to pray or we hope later in the year that we have this or this output, and it is really hard to predict. And it's anyway something we don't have control of. So we look in to optimize our operations and to deliver a constant flow of good food. We look what can we do to have more control of our feedstock. That was one idea for the wheat crop production, as well as if we need a lot of if we should only produce on conventional crops, it means that we need to find thousands of hectares for this farm, at least 3,000 hectares, to find significantly further away. They are not available in our area, as I mentioned already, which means significantly increase of transportation costs, etc. Also, additional purchase of machinery, because then it will be maybe too far away to bring the machinery from our local farms to those plots, etc., and harder to control. So we hope when we can implement the wheatgrass production on all the farms and we save between 20 and 30% of the conventional crop, that we have enough land to sustain this. Nevertheless, we look all the time if we can buy some land, 100 hectares here, 150 hectares there, but there is not an availability of thousands of hectares. So if you would just go for conventional land, it means that we need to look for other locations for our farms to build them and then to find the land around it.
Thank you. The next question is related to the deal with BOCG. If the legislation doesn't move fast enough, what are the main risks regarding this deal?
The main risk is, of course, that we will not receive our turnover, but with the joke aside, I would say the main risk, we are confident that this is the route to go. We see also a lot of interest in partnerships with us. So the main risk is that it is further delayed. So what we did is acquisition of the land. Now we start permitting, etc. So more or less everything is ready beginning of next year. And then we need to wait for injection into the grid to final, of course, to start to for our partner to start to construct the biomethane plant, which we expect will take between 1 and 1.5 years. You don't need to finalize fully the biomethane production capacity plant because it will entail of several biomethane equipment, let's say. So you could start sooner in that process. But of course, for this, we really need a political stability, let's say, because there is some political will needed. That's also the reason there are some people who are putting a lot of resistance up to do this, but also the EU has criticized Romania of not implementing this yet. So it is clearly that it will happen. We only don't know when. But as I said, all legislation is under consultation, and we expect, especially that Romania has a target in 2030 to produce 5% of their gas production of biomethane, and 2050 10%, and it's now almost close to 0. So we expect that the steps will become. But the only risk is that we don't reduce our emission directly with 90%. And then, of course, we can use the manure to further increase. In case the whole deal would fail, we can look for another partner, or if the injection into the grid will not come, then of course the plant will never exist. Then we can increase our production capacity in our compost plants, and we still need also the manure, of course, in our fields.
Thank you very much. I'm coming back to the question regarding the Kut farm because it was a follow-up on this. So to clarify, if you have the land for building the farm, not just for growing the vegetables.
This is for the Kut 2 farm, right? The question.
Yes,
No.
Kut 2 farm.
We have already acquired the land, so we now start the permitting process so that we can start next year. We expect in the second part of next year, because our construction guys need to be ready, because they are now working hard every day at the Straja farm, so that we have capacity to start to construct there. So yeah, the land we acquired already.
Super, thank you. Now a question regarding the impact in net profits from the agriculture side. If the production is affected by weather, which is the impact? How significant it's the impact?
Well, we made some calculation now due to the impact of the triticale. As I mentioned already, we have harvested so far half of the number of tons compared to last year. So for now, we know for sure that we need to acquire additional food for approximately 1 million euros. And it could further increase if the corn would be also problematic. At least we are not for all hectares, but for a part of the hectares, we are still sowing as the corn, let's say. And last year we were already weeks ago finalized with sowing everything. So that will have an impact. The impact will be probably, it could be larger to a larger extent next year, but that we need to see. We see that the market prices are beneficial, so that is we are quite lucky with that the market prices are low for what we can contract. That's also the reason we start now already to contract and purchase food, because the prices are beneficial at the moment. So there will be an impact. Will it be significant? No, that is hard to say, because that really depends on the corn. If it remains with the triticale, I don't think it has this of a significant impact in the end in the result. But of course, it will increase our production costs. That's clear. But probably the majority of the part will be next year that probably will see a larger impact. And then it would really help if we can if we have at least one wheatgrass farm, let's say.
Thank you very much. Again, the question regarding the movement out of the aero market to the main market. Very briefly.
Our goal is 2028, as we see it for now. From next year, our goal is to start quarterly basis on IFRS. If we will remain more or less satisfied with the growth of the share price, our goal is to do it together with a major capital increase in 2028 for the greenhouses.
Thank you. The next remark is congratulations. The plan looks very attractive. Based on the dairy farm, the company takes into consideration touristic activities?
No, we don't take into consideration touristic activities. Now also we have this disease, and we have a lot of animals, and we have already a lot of also employees on the farm, etc. And there are a lot of procedures. So no, we hope at least for investors, of course, to show the farm, the Straja farm, on our investor day in September. But for the rest, we try to limit as much as possible interactions on our farms. We do sometimes, I must say, maybe you heard it, sometimes we do a tour on the farm, but mainly that is to foreign farmers or foreign businessmen or whatsoever, not really for touristic purposes, let's say. If there is depends on the group who asks where we do the tour for.
Thank you. With this answer, you also answered to the next question that is related to the Agrar Investor Day, when it is. So it will be in September. The next question is
with one condition, of course, that the foot and mouth disease is not an issue anymore.
Okay, thank you. The next question, it's a bit too long, so it's as follows. In the light of upcoming changes in the national political landscape and the growing focus on reducing the budget deficit, what trade-offs would your company consider if government subsidies were reduced or discontinued? How would you prioritize operational or strategic adjustments to maintain sustainability?
Anyway, as we can see in the last couple of years, is that the percentage that subsidies play a role in our company reduces step by step. Now we had a net profit of 14 million. In the income, subsidies were around 6 million for the quarter. We have also seen something that it was way more balanced. But I think we really, in the end, in time, subsidies will go down in all over Europe. And we need to see if that happens already in 2027, when the new EU budget will come into force, or if that will be the period of 7 years after. I think, but that's completely personal, so don't count me or the DNR group on it. I don't think it will happen in the next budget, as the agricultural lobby is strong at the moment. I think it will happen in the 7 years after that. So I think the agriculture sector will remain around 60% of the EU budget will remain to be allocated to the agricultural sector, or if there is a decrease, I estimate that the EU budget in general will increase, and that is then the reason that the 60% will be decreased, let's say, but not in value in itself. What would happen if they would reduce the subsidies? That's the reason we invest now in compost. We hope to we signed the contract with Black Sea Oil and Gas to have income from biomethane. So those two processes are not related to EU subsidies, etc. And anyway, the cows give manure, so that will give significant other business lines. Otherwise, if the subsidies are reduced, what we will see is that partly of our farms will go bankrupt. So for a while, this will have negative consequences also for us, because we have lower amounts of subsidies, but in time some farms will disappear, and then we expect that the price of milk would go up again. Nevertheless, as I said, that would clean up the market. We don't see such much risk, but for that to be more resilient, especially when you become so large, we look to diversify, and we don't want to be to diversify just to diversify, because that sounds cool or whatsoever. If we diversify to a really different business line, we want to be a leader there as well, at least in Romanian context.
Thank you very much. The next question is related to the contract with Lactalis. When it will be renewed? The first question.
We just renewed it this year, the beginning of this year. So
okay.
It's 3 years.
And the next question is also related to this contract regarding the risks. What kind of risk you can have there, and if there are any competition in the market that can replace you in this contract?
No, I don't think that we can necessarily be replaced in quantities. The reason is, in Romania, to call a processor can only call a product Romanian produced is at least 50% of that product is produced in Romania. So that's is a huge mitigation measurement for Romanian farmers. Next to that, as I said, we also understand that we become large, and it is a request of diversifying potential clients. Now, as I said already, there are not that many large processors. So then we thought, what can we do? Then there are two things to do. You can export, or you can valorize in a different way your commodity. Lactofrine, as I mentioned already, you can take it out from the milk, and that substance there you could sell it to medicine factories. Fat and protein separate, you could sell it to a Unilever, or you could sell it to large bakery factories or other type of food producers. So there are several ways to enlarge and diversify your potential clients. Another is whey powder, or you could think, but for butter you need a lot of milk. You could think of butter. More than 60% of the butter is imported in Romania, and it has a constant high price. So that could be something else, let's say. So for that, we are constantly analyzing how to increase the margin, reduce risk. But for that, also partly a bit is needed a diversification. At least that is our opinion.
And one last question. It's related to the market share that you are having now in Romania and the difference between you and the next milk producer.
Yeah, now in number of quantity, I don't know so from my head, but let's say we have approximately 16,000 animals, and there are from at the moment approx half give milk or are pregnant, etc., and the rest is young stock. So there are some other farms who have 2,000 cows or 2,500 cows, and then usually they have 1,400, 1,500 dairy cows. There are a few of them. But in total, there probably are not more than 10, and still the difference is big, let's say, between us and those. To give you one example, is Bona Farm. It's a Hungarian company. They are one of the larger, or also one of the largest in Europe. They have several business lines, but he's acquaintance of Viktor Orban. He's the CEO of Bona Farm. He's also the CEO of OTP Bank, and the largest receiver of subsidies in Hungary. And they, at least for 2 years ago, they produced 70 million, but they work in a somehow a franchise model. But that would be the one who comes closest to us, to our scale. But as I said, it's in Hungary. And for the rest, there are not, especially not if we take in consideration Q2 and Strage 2, then we are far ahead. Because then we will have a yearly production between 150 and 200 million liters per annum. So yeah, then we completely separate ourselves from anything near us.
Thank you very much. And one last comment, not a question, from one of today's participants. I just want to say that I'm proud to be part of this company. I love the business, I love the management, and I definitely love the 2030 strategy and plans. So congratulations.
Yeah, and generally, thank you very much. And in generally, we need more love and less war. So yeah, thank you very much. And thank you also for your attention. It was a really long day for myself, but also for my father, of course, and the new elected management team. Partially emotional, but we are fully energetic to go into this next plans. I would remind you that normally I should not really announce, but this week I will participate in Field of Markets on ZF on the show, but it's a really difficult Romanian name I cannot pronounce. Maybe Daniela can support me. And
yes,
another,
of course.
Yes, and there is another recording. Also, I will participate at Tradeful Quarterly Reporting at the ARIR event, Investor Relations event in Bucharest. I think it is. Yeah, I should know this. Dan, when is it, Daniela?
When on 13th of June.
13th of June. So there are in the coming period still a lot of possibilities to meet each other in Bucharest, or send us an invite and we can always discuss. And I'm really curious to hear all your opinions as well. As I said, it is not a definitive plan. It's a tip on the horizon, and every plan we will come back to you with the financials. As well as with approvals, of course, because they all need to be financed. So thank you very much. And yeah, I hope to see you soon.